At this time, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Krystal Patton, a Navy veteran, and the director of the Veterans Resource Center at Santa Fe Community College.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
And we're happy to have singing the national anthem for us today, Alexander Charles, musician third class from our Woodwind Quintet from San Diego.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
At this time, Chaplain Joseph Villegas from the New Mexico State Police will give our invocation.
Sea por el amor de Dios, mi Tata Dios, my Father God. Today we honor our veterans, worthy men and women who gave their best when they were called upon to serve and protect our country. We pray that you will bless them, mi Tata Dios, our Father God, for their unselfish service. Bless them abundantly for the hardships they face, for the sacrifice they made. We respect them. We thank them. We honor. Watch over these special people and bless them with peace and happiness. Bless each precious soul present today on these sacred grounds with your amor y caridad. Amor de Dios, with the love of God. Así es. Amen.
At this time, we're fortunate to have Teresa Casados, the Chief Operations Officer from the Office of Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, here to read a proclamation from the governor. Ms. Casados, for those of you who don't know, comes from a very distinguished military family. Her father served in the National Guard and U.S. Army Reserves for 42 years. Her father-in-law served with the Army at the Battle of the Bulge in World War II under General Patton's Third Army. Ms. Casados.
Good morning and thank you. I'm honored to be here with you today on behalf of the governor who could not be here as she's attending another event for veterans in Albuquerque. So I have a proclamation that she has provided that I would like to present to you. Whereas our nation was founded on the belief that all citizens are guaranteed the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas the freedom we enjoy as Americans comes at a price that is paid by our nation's military personnel who make personal sacrifices to preserve and protect it and our country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And whereas 100 years ago, November 11th was proclaimed Armistice Day to honor our country's World War I veterans, on the one-year anniversary of the signing of the armistice that brought an end to that war. And whereas in 1954, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed legislation that proclaimed November 11th as Veterans Day to honor all veterans of the United States Armed Forces. And whereas, having fulfilled their service to our country, 156,500 veterans currently live in New Mexico. Now, therefore, I, Michelle Lujan Grisham, Governor of the State of New Mexico, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2021 as Veterans Day throughout the state of New Mexico, done at the Executive Office this 18th day of October, 2021, by the hand and seal of the great state of New Mexico and the Governor, Michelle Lujan Grisham. Thank you. And there goes my note.
Thank you, Ms. Casados. I know we have some dignitaries in the audience today. I don't want to overlook anyone, so I know at least one city councilor is here. I believe Ms. Lindell is here, right over there. Welcome. If there are any state representatives, state senators here in the audience today, we'd like to welcome you as well. And our tribal leaders and Native American veterans, a special welcome to you. County Commissioner. Okay, there's County Commissioner here as well. Welcome. Thank you. So at this time in our program, I'd like to welcome the Mayor of Santa Fe, the Honorable Alan Weber.
Good morning, everybody. It is a joy, a pleasure, and an honor to be with everybody here this morning, once again, together, in person, honoring our veterans, their families, the men and women who are in the service now, families who have served in the past, given so much to our country, to our community. I think it is well known just how much and how many people from Santa Fe County, northern New Mexico, and the whole state over the history of the United States and of our community have served our people and have given of themselves to keep us safe and to make us proud. And to all of you today, Thank you so much from the city of Santa Fe. Please, a round of applause for all of our veterans and their families. I also want to extend a special thank you to the Veterans Advisory Board. Your work is outstanding, not just today, but every day, to recognize and support our veterans and to give them the recognition and support they so richly deserve. We are truly indebted to you for all your hard work. I'd like to offer a proclamation of my own and then a small special recognition, if you'll bear with me. Also, I'm looking at our friends from the USS Constitution. We're so proud to have you here from the USS Santa Fe, from the USS New Mexico. It's Navy Week. I do encourage everyone here at this ceremony to be at the plaza no later than 2 o'clock to participate and enjoy the Navy Band of the Southwest and to recognize Navy Week. And you might also enjoy some of the vehicles that are on the plaza today as a special part of Veterans Day. With that said, I want to read this proclamation and then a special recognition, and then turn it over to our very special guest, the Congresswoman, to give us some words on this day. It's wonderful to have you here. Whereas on Veterans Day, Santa Feans come together to pay tribute to the men and women who have worn the uniform of the United States Armed Forces. And whereas the city of Santa Fe is home to more than 5,000 veterans from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, freedom, Afghanistan, and other deployments worldwide. And whereas our veterans organizations, their members, and auxiliaries have played and continue to play an integral part in our city's community outreach, and whereas the city recognizes the importance of these individuals and their contributions to the well-being of our community, and whereas this day and every day, we pay tribute to America's sons and daughters who have answered our country's call, and we especially honor those veterans from our great city of Santa Fe who have served and continue to serve in all branches of our military. Now, therefore, I, Alan M. Weber, Mayor of the City of Santa Fe, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim Thursday, November 11, 2021, as Veterans Day in Santa Fe. Thank you. And now, if my friend Chris Calvert would come join me up here, I would be very grateful. Chris is wearing some very special clothes today. He's operating undercover. But you might want to show people what you actually look like. I think, and come on, don't be so shy. Come on up. This is a very special award for a very special person. It is a Muchísimas Gracias award from the city of Santa Fe and from me as mayor to Chris Calvert. And I want to read its inscription before I present it to Chris. A U.S. Air Force veteran and former city councilor, Chris served as the chair of the Mayor's Veterans Advisory Board from its inception in 2015 until the spring of 2021. He led the board through its formation and guided it with a strong hand as it became a critical and valuable advocate on behalf of all of our veterans. Today, it continues to serve the Santa Fe veterans community with scholarships for veterans and military families at the Santa Fe Community College, emergency relief and outreach to veterans in need, and community events focused on veterans. We recognize and appreciate his outstanding and invaluable service to the city of Santa Fe and our veterans. This Muchísimas Gracias goes to you, Chris, for all you do. Thank you, my friend. You deserve it and more. Thank you. Thank you. This just in, the mayor gets to introduce the Congresswoman. And, you know, I would have done it ordinarily, but I didn't want to usurp the privilege. We are so fortunate and so proud to have as our keynote speaker today our U.S. Congresswoman, Teresa Legere Fernandez. And she is I can tell you, an old and dear friend of mine and of our community and of our veterans. She has begun a career in the Congress already that is outstanding, remarkable, and I think destined to create a lasting legacy for all of us in Santa Fe and in northern New Mexico. She is committed to our community, to people in all parts of her district. We are so privileged to have her as our Congresswoman, and I am very proud to call her my friend, Congresswoman Teresa Legere Fernandez.
No problem. Good morning, everybody. Buenos días le dé Dios en este día tan importante que celebramos nuestros veteranos. So, you know, I am so proud to be able to represent my beautiful and beautifully diverse 3rd Congressional District. And I'm very honored. I'm very honored that these amazing volunteers who put this together and who are always caring for our veterans and giving of their time selfishly the same way that they gave of their time selfishly when they served. Once you serve, you never get to stop serving, do you? So, you know, from selflessly serving our nation to stepping up to serve your communities during a global pandemic, to helping Afghan allies find safety during the withdrawal from Afghanistan, you have all given so much this year. At one time, each of you here and your families answered a call that not everyone chooses to accept. A call to serve your country and to dedicate your life to something bigger than yourselves. I'm familiar with that call. My hada, my niece, flew jets in the Navy. But my father also served during World War II. The immensity of that call was never more vivid to me than the moment after taps played, when you were handed that beautifully folded flag with the words, "On behalf of a grateful nation, please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation for your loved ones' honorable and faithful service." Whose eyes are not moist in that moment? Whose heart is not full and ready to break? And I know that in New Mexico, so many of our families have had that moment because of New Mexico's dedication to freedom, to this country, and to service. And I know that New Mexicans, like I did, let their tears flow, let their heart fill, and then go back home and remember with grace, fondness, lots of stories, those who have gone on. So yes, it was mentioned earlier that New Mexico has such a long and distinguished history of military service, one that is diverse as New Mexico itself, from the Navajo Nation code tuckers who created that unbreakable code in World War II, to the countless New Mexicans who've donned the uniform and stood for our nation's freedoms. This year, I introduced the bipartisan Defenders of Bataan and Corregidor Congressional Gold Medal Act to honor and recognize the soldiers who bravely endured the Bataan Death March during World War II. I had the honor of meeting Valdemar de Herrera. He's 102, and he's one of the oldest surviving members of the Battle of Bataan. He was one of almost 1,800 New Mexicans who served alongside Filipino soldiers. New Mexicans were sent to the Philippines, to that arena, because we spoke Spanish and they spoke Spanish in the Philippines. And it is that sort of history and that herencia and that cultura and that idioma that took us there. But we served bravely, those who served, and we have yet to honor them the way we should. And that's why I introduced the bill together with Senator Heinrich. You have served us. Thank you. It's time. It's time they were honored. Ahora es cuando, and we will honor them. But you, those of us, the veterans among us, you have served us, and now We must serve you. Because words aren't good enough. Gratitude is good, but we must do more. You need action. In Congress this year, we have passed 27 bills so far, 27 bills in the House to support our veterans, and 8 of those bills have been signed into law. Like the Save Lives Act to provide the COVID-19 vaccines to all veterans, their spouses and caregivers. I met with the Secretary of the Veterans Affairs a couple of weeks ago and said, how are we making sure that we provide it to all veterans wherever they live, whether they're in New Mexico or whether they're in Mexico. Every veteran deserves to have the care wherever they live with their family. And thank you. I'm also proud to have co-sponsored bills to bring high-quality, affordable health care, provide job training, housing assistance, and to expand and strengthen access to mental health care programs. We've also worked alongside the administration to make sure veterans are able to fully recover from the pandemic through the American Rescue Plan. The American Rescue Plan provided $17 billion in support of VA's nationwide response to the pandemic. And we're not done yet. We're not done, and we should never be done. We should always strive to improve and answer all calls to serve you. The Build Back Better agenda includes transformative investments, and I pledge to you I will do all I can to make sure that we achieve these. The House bill has $5 billion to build the VA's infrastructure and provide much-needed updates to support the structure that is meant to serve our veterans. It includes $1.8 billion to undo a backlog of medical facility leases, vastly improving access to health care, $268 million to increase the number of health positions at VA medical facilities so that we can provide quality care. You know, I took my father to the VA. My sister, my querida sister, and her husband worked at the VA, and they were dedicated to the health of our veterans, but they worked in a facility that needed a lot of help, and that's what we are trying to deliver. We stand ready to help you cut through the red tape and ensure that every service member receives the benefits that they have earned. Please do not hesitate to reach out to my office. The people in my office, my staff, they don't work for me. They work for you. And they are some of the best to help our veterans. So please reach out to us because they serve you, and we want to make sure that you find us and we will help you. Carlos Sanchez is here. I want Carlos to stand up because he is amazing. Francesca is here. Jessica is here. Please stand up. Jennifer is here. Please stand up. So I want to thank, in ending, thank you for having me here. Thank you for the service you do. And may we always find such great pride when we look up and we see it hoisted high. So, muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes. Thank you so very much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dorothy Seaton. I'm the chair of the Veterans Advisory Board. We're hosting this event. We hope you're having a good time so far. There's a little bit more to come that I think you'll enjoy. But since the governor is not here herself, the box is not here. So I've got to drag a brick up to the mic. One moment. Oh, I got it, sir. I got it.
I can give you a hand.
No. 2 or 1. That's good. That was pretty quick for a 74-year-old, wasn't it? Okay, here we go. Let me get my program. First, I want to thank my members of the Veterans Advisory Board, Jim and all the other members of the Veterans Advisory Board who are out here in the audience. We work in your behalf on the committee at the City of Santa Fe for the benefit of all veterans and military families, because we know that veterans do not serve alone. So that's what we do. Now it's time for some awards. I'd like to call forward the VVA 996 presenter of awards, who is Antonio Lopez, a Vietnam veteran, and he will take over from me and make his presentations. Thank you, Antonio.
I got it. I don't think I need the brick.
No, we'll just put that over
I
there for
think
now.
you're okay without the brick. You keep it handy.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, fellow veterans and all of those that support us. I'm here on behalf of the Vietnam Veterans of America, Northern New Mexico Chapter 996. At this time, I would like the ladies of the Quilts of Valor by Northern New Mexico Quilt Guild to come up here, and Ms. Billy Russell. There was a funny thing that happened with about Billy Russell's award. I had to go back and get it redone because the gentleman that made it said, in honor of his service. And I said, oh, Mr. Ortiz, Billy happens to be a lady, so would you please change that to her service? Command Sergeant Major Billy Russell. Happy blessed Veterans Day. In honor of your Quilts of Valor by Northern New Mexico Quilt Guild, I would like to present this award to the ladies of the Quilts of Valor. And the gentlemen too. By the way, we have a gentleman in the building. And of course, where's Miss Billy Russell hiding? Oh, man, sorry. Major, would you come up here, please? All right. So, in behalf of the Vietnam Veterans of America, Northern New Mexico Chapter 996, I award you the Farrell Udell Veteran Service Award. Congratulations, Major Billy Russell.
I want to say I accept this on behalf of the group of 2-3, the veterans that meet every third Tuesday, some 200 of us, and they all served from World War II to Afghanistan, and I accept this on behalf of them. Thank you.
Last of all, I would like to remind a lot of you that knew Farrell Udell and knew his wife, Jan Udell. She passed away this last year. So again, we thank the Udells for their awards. Thank you.
The next presentation we have is going to be made by the ladies of the Quilts of Valor.
Good morning. My name is Donna Ormerod, and before we do this, I just want to say to all the veterans from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. And now, a guy that I know by the name of Jim, I think he's also Mr. James Williams. I would like him to come stand next to me. Jim, the Northern New Mexico Quilt Guild is very honored to present you with this Quilt of Valor and want you to know that we thank you very much for your service and sacrifice. This quilt was requested for you and made by me.
Like I said, I'm in so much trouble.
I think I'm going to be in trouble with him, but we'll deal with that later. The Quilts of Valor Foundation is a grassroots group of quilters from all across the U.S. In 2003, a quilter named Catherine Roberts had the idea of comforting veterans with quilts during the time her son was deployed in Iraq. Since then, over 269,505 Quilts of Valor have been awarded here in the United States, Germany, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Through their volunteer efforts, the Northern New Mexico Quilt Guild members support the mission of the Quilts of Valor Foundation to cover service members and veterans touched by war with comforting and healing quilts of valor. The foundation represents one human being reaching out and touching another without judgment, reaching out with acceptance and with an acknowledgement of service to our nation. The foundation goes wherever those who have served are. They don't need high-profile venues to find them. They are in plain sight. Thousands of quilters all over the U.S. work daily to create quilts to cover veterans.
Yes, thank you. Perfect. I am Linda Robinson. I have been involved with Quilts of Valor since 2004, and I am now the National Foundation State Coordinator for Quilts of Valor. I would like to tell you a little bit about the quilts and what we do. This quilt brings a three-part message to our recipient. First, we honor you for your service. We honor you for your strength of duty and allegiance to our country. And I'm going to ask you if you'll come upstairs. And the family. Next, the quilters know that freedom is not free. The cost of our freedom is the dedication of the lives of men and women like you, and this quilt is meant to thank you for your sacrifice and to thank your family for their support. And finally, this quilt is meant to offer comfort to you and to remind you that although your family and friends cannot be with you at all times, you are forever in all of our hearts and our thoughts. A quilt consists of 3 layers. They're held together by the quilting stitches, and the layers are described as follows. The top of the quilt, with its many colors, shapes, and fabrics, represents the communities and the many individuals that we all are. The batting, which is the filler of the quilt, represents its warmth and hope that this quilt will bring you warmth, peace, and comfort as you receive it. The backing is the strength that supports the other layers. It represents your strength, the strength of your family, the support of your family, the communities, and our nation. Each Quilt of Valor is formed by loving hands. It can be formed by one person, in this case, Miss Ormerod, or it can be formed by many, as we have back here representing our Quilts of Valor group in Santa Fe. A Quilt of Valor may be, let me stop a minute. The quilters believe that as they sew, this is where we always get kind of teary. That's okay. The quilters believe that as we sew, that our love, our caring, and our gratitude flows from our hearts and our hands into the quilt for you. We often work together in sewing groups. Our group meets at least once a month. We've been meeting by Zoom during the pandemic, but we still meet, and we quilt, and we talk about how grateful we are to all of our veterans and how wonderful it is to have you supporting us and protecting our freedom. So when we wrap you in this quilt, we call this our quilty hug. And now, through this quilt, you become part of our quilting family with our hug. For those of us who have never served, we can't even imagine the experiences that the veterans have. We can't imagine the experiences of the families, but we want you to know that we do think about you. And we love you, and we appreciate what you have done for our country, and we are grateful. On each quilt, there is a label, and the label will have your name and your service. It's
in the back.
The back on the ground.
It's on the ground. As of today, the story of this quilt becomes your story and the story for your family. We hope that you will keep this quilt with you to provide you comfort and peace, and we do want you to use it. And
Along with the quilt, you will receive a letter and a card and a pillowcase, which is our presentation case. Donald?
Come on.
Get up here with him. You don't need to open it.
Okay, thank you, yeah.
So we really want you to use the quilt. You can use the pillowcase for a pillow, not to put your pillow in. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Williams, for your service.
Thank you. Great.
That is living proof that I have a top secret clearance. This has been in the works since late spring between me and Jenny, and we managed to pull it off. Next, I would like to call up Ken Detelbeck, one of my fellow Veterans Advisory Board members, and a man who has done yeoman's work on a program that he will explain himself, and it will include some stories from military families. So I'll turn it over to Ken.
Let me help you, Ken. You look a little,
You want the brick?
you look like you don't need a brick. You're all
I need a brick, but I don't need to stand on it. Welcome, everybody. My original presentation was about an hour and 5 minutes, and they asked me to cut it to 5 minutes, so because of the wind. So that's what I'm going to do. The inscriptions that are inscribed on the gravestones at the national cemeteries don't tell the whole story of those that are interred there. And the stories comprise the history of the wars of the United States, of the families, of the veterans. And so I'm pretty excited to tell you about something that just happened that will affect all of us. Just over 2 years ago, the National Cemetery Association, a division of the Veterans Administration, through its director of the Santa Fe National Cemetery, contacted me and asked, would the state of New Mexico like to apply for a fully funded program called the Veterans Legacy Program, and put a team together to apply and, if awarded, to operate a statewide program. The program is statewide. We have 2 cemeteries, one here at Santa Fe and one at Fort Baird in Silver City. We understood that we would be competing against every other state that applied and against 150 plus other national cemeteries. This year, 7 states were awarded the Veterans Legacy Program. And on October 1st, we received notice that New Mexico was one of them. What is the Veterans Legacy Program? The Veterans Legacy Program is a fully funded contract, next year a grant, from the federal government required to be put through an institution of higher learning to tell the stories by living families of their veteran relatives interred in the national cemeteries of New Mexico, and publish those stories in all ways possible. The Santa Fe Community College, with a tremendous help to get the program, was awarded the contract on October 1st. Santa Fe Community College will administer the contract, provide certain assets to its success, and involve its teachers and students as participants. All participating students will be trained to research and interview the families. And they will be paid, the students will be paid $19 an hour to do so. So it's an education program as well. I would like to publicly thank Senator Jim Trujillo and Councilwoman Senia Lindell for moving resolutions through your legislative bodies. It helped tremendously. And Councilwoman Lindell, wherever you are, okay, you're always there for these veterans, aren't you? So, and congratulations. Okay. I'd like to thank Jim Wysong. Jim is Dean of Liberal Arts and School of Art and Design at the Santa Fe Community College. Where's Jim? Okay, there's Jim. Okay. Your counsel and commitment was essential to our success and will be, I know, as we move forward in the future. So thank you very much. Okay. I'd like to thank Becky Raleigh, President of Santa Fe Community College, for understanding the importance of this program to the families of veterans and to the school itself. What I would like to be able to do now is to introduce a fabulous team of people that will be going forward throughout the state. Okay, we will be going to the national cemeteries, and next year to all the little cemeteries that are in the hills and valleys of New Mexico, where veterans are buried but they haven't been noted. And the National Cemetery Association has prepared brass plaques, and we will have services at those cemeteries as well for those veterans that are buried there but not noted as veterans on their cross or gravestone. So let me start off by recognizing some people from the college who will be working on the program. Steve Martinez, and as I say this, I want you guys to stand, ladies and gentlemen, to stand, okay? Steve Martinez, there's Steve. Steve is assistant professor and head of the history department at Santa Fe Community College. Steve is going to head up the program for the whole state moving forward. Okay, where's Allison Johnson? There's Allison Johnson. She's recording us today, so you'll see it on our website. Allison is assistant professor and co-chair of film and digital media arts at Santa Fe Community College. Did I get it all right? Okay. And Allison is essential to the program itself. Peter Tosick, who's not here, is assistant professor of graphic arts. Carol Chavez, I don't know if Carol's here or not, but she's an assistant professor of languages at Santa Fe Community College. She'll be translating our work into Spanish from English. We'll be the only state in the country that has been awarded this program to do so. And next year, we hope to be able to have the Native American community work with us, and we'll be translating it into Tewa and Towa, and also other Native American languages that exist within the state of New Mexico and outside. This is a national program, okay, where the state of New Mexico and the Santa Fe Community College will be recognized nationally because all of our work will go into what you might call a library of legacies, okay? And it'll be available to the world to see the commitment of New Mexico to the military of the United States of America, and even before that to the militia, if you all know the Battle of Glorieta. By the way, Steve has done a fabulous trailer film on the Battle of Glorieta. It's worthwhile looking at. Outside of the college has been recruited Charles Martinez. Where's Charles? You got to stand up, guys. Come on now. Okay. Charles is a self-made genealogist. He's a guru of the archives of the state of New Mexico, and he is also a historian for the New Mexico National Guard. And Charles will be training the teachers and the students how to do the research, and he knows where everything is, I'll tell you that, okay? In addition, hold on a second. Hold on, that's not, okay. In addition, Kermit Hill. Kermit is an educator of 40 years in the school systems of the state of New Mexico. He's a historian. He's a writer of books. And Kermit is an expert in the art in the military. Art in the military includes everything from paintings to poetry, to monuments, to cartoons. And so we will be bringing all of this art out into the open, okay? And we will be associating. There are many great artists in all these categories that come and live in the state of New Mexico. I'd like to introduce you all, and you got to stand, Victor, to Victor Vasquez. Victor is now the new director of the Santa Fe National Cemetery. Victor is committed, and there's a major article on Victor in the newspaper this morning, okay? And I sort of took a clause out of there because the stories that will be told and the history that will be composed and the education and the classes at the cemetery we will hold and the lectures we will hold, okay, will all educate all New Mexicans to the military of New Mexico. And then where's Ralph Nava? There's Ralph Nava, okay. Ralph is president of the New Mexico Military Museum Foundation, and Ralph will be coordinating all aspects of our program to his program at the museum. It's on Old Pecos Trail, where they just had a major renovation, new digital exhibits, renovation of the auditorium. You need to get over to see that. It was just terrific, or it is terrific. Okay, so, am I over 5 minutes? Okay. Yes, I did. I took the brick away. Okay, and I want to thank you, Victor, for all your commitment, okay? We got two stories to tell you today, okay? The first story is of Pancho Nava. Pancho was one of 18, and I think it might be 19 now. No, it's one of 18 Santa Feans that were killed in the Vietnam War. And his story will be told by Major General Kenneth Nava and his family. Major General Nava is the Adjutant General for the New Mexico National Guard, and we appreciate him being here. And the second story will be told by John Romero. John Romero is lead pastor at the Ascent Bible Church on Galisteo. He'll be talking and telling the story of his father, Juan Romero, who was a Korean veteran, and John and his family will tell that story. So let's get going with the stories, and I'll get out of here. General Nava.
Thank you, Ken. Veterans, distinguished guests, family, friends, Happy Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day. Let's try that again. Happy Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Mr. Mayor, I was talking with Teresa over there. I obviously picked the right seat because I wasn't having to move that brick around. So thank you very much for that. Once again, I am Major General Ken Nava. I'm the 44th Adjutant General of the New Mexico National Guard. It's my honor to be part of this very fitting Veterans Day celebration. And that's exactly what it is. A celebration of the men and women who have, who are, and who will serve in the armed forces of the United States of America to protect the freedoms that we all enjoy. Today I've been asked to speak a little bit about my cousin, Francis Xavier Nava, also known as Pancho. Who was Pancho? Let's start out with some of the basics. Corporal Nava, 212-9225, MOS 0311, rifleman. There you go, where are those 03s at? I know you guys are out there. Pancho was born and raised in Santa Fe, New Mexico. He was a Christmas baby, born on Christmas Day, 1946. He was the eldest son of Stanley and Rose Nava. He had a younger brother, Raymond. The Navas lived at 742 Baca Street. They attended church at St. Anne's. Pancho was a very likable young man. He was in the Civil Air Patrol. He attended Santa Fe High School. Where's my demons out? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to say Miker, so okay. There we go. Pancho was short of stature. He was short. My Aunt Teresa thinks he was about 5'4". One of her memories of him was that he always wanted to be a state policeman or serve in the military, but state policeman is what he wanted to do. There are plenty of Navas that served in law enforcement, and poor Pancho, he tried everything he could do to stretch himself out. She remembers him hanging upside down, doing everything he could, trying to get those extra 4 inches that he needed. Well, he couldn't grow another 4 inches, so his backup plan was to serve in the military. And that wasn't much of a leap either. All of his uncles, except Father Frank Nava, served in the military. His dad, my Uncle Stanley, served in the Army. His mom, my Aunt Rose, served in the Marines. He worked at the movie theater, and he'd sneak his cousins in to see the movies for free. My dad, Ralph Nava, sitting over there, he remembers the elaborate electric trains that he had. The train set was so big they had to move all the furniture out of the living room to set it up. My dad also recalls the uncles sending all the kids to the other room so they could play with the train. 18-year-old Pancho was the first Santa Fe recruit to join the Marines in their newly rolled out 120-day delayed entry program. He enlisted in February of 1965. Enlisting in this program allowed him to finish his high school education, guaranteed his training dates, made him exempt from the draft, and started accumulating time for pay, promotions, as well as time towards his service obligation. He was the first from Santa Fe to enlist in that program. When Pancho finished his initial military training, he stopped by my Grandpa Nava and Grandma Nava's house. My grandpa, Eleuterio, was a very well-decorated World War II veteran, officer in the National Guard, and commander of the local VFW post. Pancho told my grandpa, "I don't know if I should salute you or hug you." My grandpa's answer was for him to give him a hug. Pancho was a gentle person, and everyone loved him. He was very proud to be a Marine. It's funny what things we remember. My Aunt Teresa, again, when I was asking her about him, she remembered him telling her how the Marines would do corrective training, making him do wall squats and hold the rifle out in front of his body. My dad remembers how strong Pancho was. My dad's family lived on Spruce Street. Anybody know where Casa Solana is? Those big old hills? Well, my dad remembers Pancho riding up the hill with my dad as a passenger, no problem. Most kids couldn't even ride up the hill in one shot without getting off and having to walk. About 4 years ago, reporter Robert Knott from the Santa Fe New Mexican did a great story about Nava Elementary School. He interviewed my cousin Raymond as well as others for the story. I'll share a small excerpt from Robert's article. Raymond Nava prepares to remember visiting a family ranch in Rio Riba County with his brother, who was home for leave before heading to Vietnam. His brother said nothing about going to war. Instead, he turned to Raymond and said, "You better take care of Mom and Dad." Today, that exchange made Raymond Nava laugh. What could I do to take care of them? I was 13 years old. Arriving in Vietnam in fall of 1965, Pancho was assigned to Golf Company, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marine Regiment, 3rd Marine Division. He was injured in combat in May of 1966. That's when he received his first Purple Heart. Pancho would return to duty to do his job. On September 10th, 1966, he died of gunshot wounds to the body from rifle fire when Golf Company engaged hostile forces in the vicinity of An Dinh, 2 kilometers northeast of Con Tien. He was days from completing his 1-year tour of duty in Vietnam when he was killed. He was the first person from Santa Fe killed in Vietnam. My cousin Raymond was next door at a neighbor's house when the casualty notification team arrived at the house. It was horrible news. Marine Lance Corporal Francis Xavier Nava had been killed trying to help a wounded buddy in Vietnam the day before. At just 19 years old, Pancho was the first Santa Fe resident to die in the Vietnam War. Raymond recalls that my Uncle Stanley could not bear to tell my Aunt Rose the news. She was at work. He had to go get a priest from St. Anne's to help him break the news. Pancho's death was very traumatic to the entire family. Everyone was impacted. My Grandpa Nava enlisted the help of the Adjutant General of the time, Major General Jolly, to help influence the effort to get Nava School named for Pancho. The Santa Fe New Mexican reported in the October 16, 1968 edition that the board unanimously voted to do just that. The school was dedicated to Nava in a public ceremony on May 25, 1969, and then opened the following August. The entire family, including his mom and dad and his brother Raymond, all of us, were very proud of Nava Elementary School being named for him. I can tell you that one of the very best Veterans Day ceremonies I have ever attended was with the students, teachers, and staff at Nava Elementary School. They do an incredible job remembering him every year. And quite honestly, if I wasn't here talking to him about with you, I'd be there. Francis Xavier Nava, my cousin, the first person from Santa Fe killed in Vietnam, the first Marine to enlist in the delayed entry program from Santa Fe. He died 3 years before I was even born. He and the rest of the family have helped make me the soldier, son, father, and husband that I am today. Rest in peace, Pancho. Help me remember him today. Repeat his name after me. Corporal Francis Xavier Nava.
Corporal Francis Xavier Nava.
Pancho Nava.
Pancho Nava.
Thank you. Happy Veterans Day, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Distinguished guests, Ken Detelbeck, my friend, thank you for allowing us the privilege to stand before these very honorable folks, you veterans. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your service. My name is John Romero, and I do pastor a church here in town by the name of Ascent Bible Church. And this morning, my brother Chris and I are going to share a little story about my father and what he means to us. My father growing up in Tesuque from Kayominga originally, but he was has been such a blessing to us. So with that said, I'm going to introduce you to my brother Chris, who recently retired colonel from the U.S. Army. Thank you for your service, Chris. And then I will come back and share a fascinating, awesome story that has just been recently revealed to me from my mom, who we have had the privilege, myself and my siblings, to take care of her since March after she came down with COVID. So all 10 of us, yes, 10 of us, have had the privilege of taking care of her 24/7 since March. And my goodness, it has been a blessing in my life as I have been able to hear some stories about my father that are so incredible. So with that said, Chris.
Good morning. First, I would like to begin by acknowledging and thanking Mr. Ken Detelbeck of the Veterans Legacy Program for allowing my father's story to be told. I personally want to thank you, Ken, for this. Juan D. Romero entered active duty on 9 January 1951 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He was first assigned to the 43rd Armored Infantry Battalion, 2nd Armored Division, as an armored reconnaissance tank cannoneer in Baumholder, Germany. He was awarded the Army of Occupation Medal for Germany, having been ordered to Germany for the 3 years of his enlisted service. However, on 3 January 1952, my dad volunteered for Korea, along with 3 buddies, and one of them being his childhood friend, Robert Yardman from Tesuque, New Mexico. My dad would tell the story that the four of them were challenged by a World War II sergeant to seek combat. And so he did. They volunteered for Korea, all 4 of them. My dad was assigned to the 7th Infantry Division as a heavy weapons infantryman, changing his military occupation specialty as it was required by the Army for volunteering for Korea. He was assigned to D Company, 32nd Infantry Regiment, 7th Infantry Division, while in the Far East Theater, earning the Army of Occupation Medal, Japan, the Korean Service Medal with 2 Bronze Service Stars, the United Nations Service Medal, and the, the United Nations Service Medal and the National Defense Medal. My father also earned the coveted Combat Infantry Badge for satisfactory performance of duty in ground combat against the enemy, engaging the enemy along what is now known the demilitarized zone in the vicinity of Port Chalk Hill. I had the honor to see this battle area when my Korean counterpart, Colonel Lee, escorted me to the area while I was assigned to United States Forces Korea in 1918 and 2020 and 2019. Thank you, Colonel Lee. I would personally want to thank my friend Colonel Lee, my friend, for allowing that to happen. My wife and I raised 3 children in Kansas City, Missouri. When my son Andrew was a child, and who, by the way, is a third-year student at the United States Naval Academy, he and I would take the 45-minute drive to Fort Leavenworth on Memorial Day to go specifically visit grave sites of fallen Vietnam soldiers. I wanted my son to appreciate the full measure of devotion these soldiers gave us as a family. You see, my wife was born in Vietnam, and when she was 7 years old, her mother put her on a boat along with 7 siblings, one being an infant, while her father became trapped and left behind. My wife and her family left their country as boat people for a better hope, the United States of America. On the fateful day of April 30th, 1975, when Saigon fell to the North Vietnamese communists, she left on that boat. So I want to thank my Vietnam-era brothers and sisters for your devotion in giving that hope to my wife and my family and my children. The reason I speak of my sons and I Memorial Day visits to Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, is because one year, as we were walking along a row of grave sites, I recognized a Korean soldier killed in action 9 October 1952, which was the time frame that my father was in country. However, the more distinctive piece of information that from that beautiful white grave marker was the inscription, 35th Infantry Regiment, 7th Infantry Division, Korea, my dad's regiment. I called him and said, "Dad, Andrew and I located a grave marker that says Willie Fellows Jr., Arkansas, Private, 32nd Infantry, 7th Infantry Division, Purple Heart, killed 9 October 1952. My dad's immediate response, "Yes, Hito, I knew him. I remember that date, 9 October, the date he was killed. I volunteered to go recover him. He was killed outside of friendly lines. We couldn't recover him for 2 days. We had to wait for things to settle down." I was in awe that I connected this gravesite in Leavenworth, Kansas to my father and what my father did there as a 19-year-old young man in 1952. Willie Fellows was 20 years old at the time of his death. He was born September 9th, 1932. My father was born in 1933. He was 1 year older than my father. My father, once again, a volunteer, which reminds me of that famous scripture in the book of Isaiah, which says, "I heard the voice of the Lord saying, 'Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?' Then said I, 'Here am I, send me.'" My father's service to the nation and community did not end after the war. It continued in peacetime, as war will always shape the peace, as my brother will now describe.
Thank you, Chris. I hold in my hand a document that was kept in my mother's house for years that we now cherish as a family. Documents that we have been discovering ever since he passed in 2013. And now that a lot of us are spending some really cool quality time with my mother, man, we're hearing stories that are just phenomenal, that are just touching my heart and reminding me of what you all represent, what today is about. And this document is titled An Affidavit of Certificate of Consent. And this is a document my dad was required to get approved by his mother so that he could join and be a part of this great country's military at the young or ripe old age of 17. So he joined up early and desired to do nothing more than to serve this great nation of ours as a 17-year-old. And what was really interesting about this document, there's a gentleman's name by the name of Tomas Trujillo, who nobody really knew what the whole story was about, so we asked her, who is this guy? And she shared with us that this was a gentleman whose house was used on Upper Bishop's Lodge to gather the community's mail. So he shows up on the document so that when the mail or the U.S. military would approve his service for him to join the military, this is where the record showed up. Now, what was really interesting, this is where the mail ended up for everybody that lived in that part of Bishop's Lodge. My dad goes on, as Chris shared with you, to do a tour in Germany and then volunteered for Korea. And I began and I asked my mom, so how did you guys stay connected during that whole time that he was gone? And she shared with me how he continually would send her letters and reminded her as often as he could how much he loved her and couldn't wait to come home. And so much was that desire, so strong was that desire to come home, that when he finally got a return and was stationed in in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, after returning from Korea, the very first thing he did as soon as he dropped off his duffel bag was he bought a ring and he hitched back to Santa Fe to give my mother her ring, an engagement ring. And she was so thrilled and so excited to see him after all these years. And she pulled out a box filled with his letters. And he shared with her and she shared with him how it was those letters that continue to give him the hope to stay alive in the midst of a war and just have that desire to come home. They obviously got married a couple of years later, had 10 kids, mind you, and here we stand just grateful and honored to be a part of his family, where he began to serve his community, whether it was in Tesuque or even around Santa Fe, and became a real testimony for us. As I have several brothers that joined the military, they were in law enforcement, 4 of them, sisters that are involved in the legal field and in the medical field, and just so grateful for his service and your service. I want to leave you with the final thought that just like those letters from my father and the reciprocated letters from my mother back to him is what gave him that desire to stay alive, gave him that hope. These love letters between two people. And please don't forget ever that God has left you and I a love letter. It's called His Word. And I pray that it's a reminder each and every day of God's love for us and all that He gave so that we could experience days like today. Thank you again so much on behalf of my family. Thank you for all you do, you service members. We're so grateful, and we honor you this day. Thank you, and God bless.
I want to thank the mayor for his support of military veterans, particularly me with the brick. I keep telling him he's hired. I join many citizens of Santa Fe in saying, Mayor, you're hired. I want now to kind of bring this ceremony home with our Department of Veterans Services Secretary, a younger veteran, younger than some of us here. And she appreciates me saying that, so I wanted to put that in there. This veteran was selected by our governor to represent veterans in the state of New Mexico and is doing a bang-up job, even with COVID, where she hasn't been able to be as public as normally the DVS secretary would be. So I'm grateful and happy now to turn it over to Secretary Sonia Smith. And ma'am, do you require the brick? There are 2 bricks. There are 2 if you want a broader base.
I think I'm okay.
You okay?
I think so, ma'am. I don't think you need this. I don't think so.
Okay.
Thank you. I got my high heel slippers on today, so I think I'm all right. Well, is it still morning or afternoon? But whatever it is, it's Veterans Day. Yeah. General Nava already said, what did he say? Happy Veterans Day. Okay. We work well together, don't we, General Nava? We sure do. All right. So thank you so very much. I want to recognize the dignitaries here for all of their wonderful words today, because they are very meaningful and very heartfelt. I also want to thank the organizers, Ms. Seaton and your team, for inviting us to be here today. I am Sonia Smith, Cabinet Secretary for the Department of Veteran Services, and I am just ecstatic to be here. And as Ms. Seaton said, I like to get out. You know, y'all can tell I'm a little shy. I like to get out because I have the best job in the state, and that is to serve veterans. I have the best agency in the state because they believe in that as well. So thank you again for the opportunity. For the next few moments, because I know we have to move along, we have things to do today, I want to talk about the unsung heroes of the veteran and military community. As we pause to honor our veterans today, let us also take a moment to thank our veterans and military families. The spouses and children of our military are the thread that keeps our armed forces quilt together. We saw quilts earlier today, so we saw the significance. So we know the thread and the fiber and the love that goes into that. So thank you so very much for your presentation today. In fact, these families are the unsung heroes of our veterans and military community. November is National Veterans and Military Family Month. We thank Governor Lujan Grisham for her proclamation recognizing these unsung heroes. Our statistics show that approximately 430,000 military families relocate annually. That means new communities, new schools, new jobs, and this is handled expertly by the families who know that this comes with the job. As their loved ones are off defending our nation, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months, and even years. Military families may move every 2 to 4 years. That can mean their kids may attend 9 different schools over the years. So you're asking, well, what can we do as a community, or what can we do as a state to help military families with their relocations? Quite simply, follow New Mexico's lead. Governor Lujan Grisham signed into law 3 bills that will support military families as they relocate into our great state. The first new law will reduce the processing times for spouses who have professional licenses so that they can start work sooner and continue with their careers. The second new law establishes Purple Star Schools, which provide mentoring and inclusion programs for military-connected students and professional development for school staff, teachers on the challenges military students face with each location. The third new law allows military families who are on orders but have not yet moved to New Mexico the ability to enroll their children or register for classes prior to moving. This helps promote a smoother transition for the school-age children. Once again, New Mexico is leading the way. At the Department of Veteran Services, our motto is, every day is Veterans Day. But as I said earlier, we pause today to pay special tribute to those who have served. I'm proud to add we're also here to help our veterans and military families. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us. On behalf of the Department of Veteran Services, happy Veterans Day. Thank you.
Happy Veterans Day.
I'll just take this over here and give the mayor a break. Yeah, you missed your cue, Mayor, but we're good. I just want to close up this ceremony by thanking you all for coming and sharing this morning and this day with us. We do this on an annual basis. We love to do it. We love to see you all here.
Sea por amor de Dios. Espíritu Santo, ven, ven. Espíritu Santo, ven, ven. Espíritu Santo, ven, ven. En el nombre del Señor. Lord, our rock and redeemer, thank you for what you do for us. That you are unchanging. Your character remains the same yesterday and today and forever. Hear our prayers, our oraciones, on behalf of all the veterans that have fought to protect our freedom. We ask that you pour out abundant blessings, bendiciones, on them. As their circumstances changes, we pray that they would find comfort in your unchanging love, amor, and care, caridad. May your love, your amor, provide joy in their hearts. May your hand provide strength when times are hard, and may your spirit, Espíritu, provide peace in their souls, in their almas. Mi Tata Dios, secure me with your shield of amor y caridad, and with your holy breath. Chikoti Otesa, así es. Amen.